All right, so if you're thinking about starting a business, this video might be for you today. Today, I want to explain why a for-profit business model, your structure set up as an LLC, is more than likely more beneficial than setting your business up as a nonprofit. Okay, so while nonprofits definitely have their place, they limit how quickly and effectively you can pursue goals, how you can reinvest the profits, and how you maintain control over the mission of the business. So I know the thought process behind the nonprofit structure. There's a couple reasons I think that we end up starting nonprofits, and the first reason is just, I believe, our desire to give back, our desire to help. But I want you to understand that profit fuels purpose, okay? Nonprofits, they do work sometimes, but there's a lot of reasons that you might not want to start this way. A lot of the times, nonprofits work best for people who have large amounts of assets already, and they want to distribute them, and they want to do it in a way that socially has a social impact. So when you don't have the funds to start a business, yes, it may look attractive to start a nonprofit so that you can receive grant funding. Now, grant funding is free money, but you do have to apply for grants. And once you receive that grant money, you do have to spend it a certain way. So just keep that in mind. I know a lot of us have a basic distrust of business. That's probably another reason that we go for the nonprofit structure instead of the LLC. It's just out of a basic distrust and fear. I think we're also more familiar with traditional charity, more traditional models of charity businesses. So when we look around and we see those and they're helping and they're making an impact, we say, oh, okay, I can do that. And there's free money that I can receive. So why don't we just go nonprofit? But at the end of the day, just being familiar with other models of charity doesn't necessarily mean that your nonprofit could be set up and work the same way. So I also think we have a fear of just being selfish or just being greedy. So we decided to start nonprofits instead of for-profits. The thing about that is, if you're trying to help and you don't have the funds or the capital to help, if you're restricted to how you receive it and you're restricted to how you spend it, that doesn't necessarily give you a good reason to start a nonprofit. Those reasons alone. So instead of a nonprofit, we would rather shoot to have an LLC, or there's a sole proprietorship. There is a joint venture. So yeah, there's S corps. There's so many different ways to structure a business that don't have all the downsides of a nonprofit. So if you're just thinking about starting a business, I just want you to reconsider. So some of the reasons, the actual reasons: you have limited control over the direction, and there can be conflict with your board members when you have a nonprofit. Versus if you have an LLC, you have full control over everything that's going on. Number two, there are regulations and oversight with nonprofits. You need to have annual filings. It's just more freedom overall. You have audits, you have to log minutes for your nonprofit. They have to be registered and receive the 501c3 status. You do have funding limitations that I spoke about earlier. You're also restricted on your revenue streams, and that's because you're limited to what activities you can do to bring in income. So because the goal is to be charitable, there's only certain things you can do to raise money. Now, if you have a LLC, you can have multiple streams of income with no restrictions. You can sell a product, you can sell service, you can sell digital products, you can sell multiple of all those. So there's no restrictions with an LLC. With a nonprofit, you also are restricted on profit distribution. So the profit has to be reinvested into the nonprofit to further the mission. So you can't just start distributing to board members, to yourself, or to anybody. That's regulated, and you got to watch how profits distributed. You also might have trouble with trying to transfer a nonprofit, because they can't be sold, or transferred. Basically, they can't be owned. So the remaining assets of a nonprofit would have to be sold, and basically the nonprofit shuts down. You can't transfer it as far as any wealth to your children or anybody else. So yeah, we I think we have big hearts, and I think that our first priority is to help. But like I said, profits fuel purpose, and if you have a purpose, you do need profit. Unless you got a whole bunch of assets just sitting around, a nonprofit might not be the route to go. You can still help people with the LLC and make money. And that's the way we should be thinking about things. So if you're considering a nonprofit, just look more into the regulations, the restrictions, and everything of that nature, especially if you're like me and you're a mom trying to build wealth, trying to build a business that you don't have to work in and be tied to. You want to be a business owner. You don't want to be self-employed. You don't want to be working in the business 24/7 and you're the only person. So there's a way to set up an LLC and become profitable and still give back. So consider that before you start a nonprofit. And that's all I got today.